All right. All right, all right. Let me get situated here. Hey, FX, how are you? Joe, how are you? Can you guys hear me okay and see everything? It's kind of dark and light in here at the same time because it's daytime. But I got the blinds shut, so we'll see if we'll see how that looks. Um, yeah. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna play with this modular stuff. I was like, I'm gonna play with this. I might as well, turn the stream on and show you guys what's going on here. I've changed my gear around a lot. Um, I have this set up right now as more of a, I don't know, I guess live performance thing, and I usually have like a sampler in this area here, but yeah, not today. I pulled that out, and we're going. This is a digital kick drum, because I basically use the sampler as like a drum machine. But we've got the digital kick drum, analog snare, and analog hi hats in there. So that's kind of cool. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Um, if I'm a little slow to talk with the chat, I've got I think there's a big delay on the actual chat thing that I'm looking at, so I apologize ahead of time. But it's okay. I don't think it'll be too bad. Thanks for the follow, Cletus1410. Appreciate that. Thank you. All right, so let's test out the sound coming out of this thing and make sure this can actually talk to Twitch and you guys can hear this stuff. So right now I've got a simple. I'm gonna explain what I'm doing too as I'm going through this, so that you guys can see, what's going on here. Um, you know, cool stuff like that. Anyway, so what this is doing is I've got a trigger button over here. This guy is just it's like an arcade button, but it allows me to send control voltage gates and triggers to things. So the first things first, I've got this trigger coming out of that arcade button into my kick drum, which is right here. And then the kick drum going out into just channel 1 right here, and it should just make a kick sound. So check it out here. So you should be able to hear that. You're probably also hearing the button clicking, which is not fun. I don't know if that's loud enough. Can you guys hear that? Shouldn't be distorted. I'm watching my signal or my line level over there. Yeah, I think that's working actually. Should be anyway, as long as it's not muted. Nah, looks like it's okay. All right. So this is actually the Crater kick drum module by WMD, and it's awesome. It's a digital kick drum, so it's not like this crazy analog thing, but I think it's got like half analog and half digital on it. So it does these different clicks. So listen to this. I can change the sound of how it's hitting, and there's all sorts of cool stuff you can change on here, like pitch decays and stuff like that. Yeah, sorry about the clicking. I could adjust my noise gate or something. I'm not going to use the button a lot. I was just trying to get that thing fired up. But let me make a cool kick sound real quick. Just... And then we can get... and then I can stop with the button. Well, actually, I might want to try I'm going to try the snare and the hi-hats as well. So here's my output. This is output, input to the snare. So here's my snare. That's probably super loud. But, what are you going to do? Okay, snare's working. This is the open hi-hat. And then we've got the closed hi-hat, which is always fun. Cletus, this is not how TNA music was made. This modular synth is actually, I use this for inspirational purposes and making loops and sound effects and stuff, mostly. But I will create music with this. So let's actually patch something up. So I've got, what we're looking at here is there is a bunch of oscillators along this top area, and these oscillators are what actually makes noise. And then I've got a bunch of things that manipulate the oscillators in this area. I've got some filters and some effects processors over here, which are just like guitar pedals pretty much. And then down here is a sequencer along with this guy. There's a mixer here, and then I've got my drum modules in the middle. But yeah, you know, this is basically normal, right? All right. Well, let's make something. So I think what I'm going to do first is patch up the drums and make a drum pattern, because that's kind of fun. And then we can dig into some of the other things. So let's do, I'm probably going to put kicks on channel 1. So let's do that. Get this wired up. So I've got all these patch cables. I just need to wire everything up here. Output of that going into number 1. I'm going to take the output of the snare, and that's going to go into number 2. And I'll take the output of the hi-hats. Cable's not long enough. Alright, so the output of this hi-hat. This is the open hi-hat. That'll go into channel 3. And the closed hi-hat's also going into channel 3 because these actually interact with each other, which is kind of cool. My modules reproduced while you weren't looking. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I really it is mostly it's just I got this larger case so I can fit everything in it. Ultimately, what I want to do is I want to take this case with me to a live show and then just do a complete live set of, you know, experimentation and crazy music. So, all right. So what we're looking at right now is I've got my drum outputs patched up. Now what I need to do is I'm going to hook the sequencer into the drums so that we're able to actually trigger those drums into a pattern. So let's see what we got here. This is trigger 1 is going to come down here. I'm going to go ahead and use a little trigger 1. Trigger 2 is going to be our snare trigger. Here and here. And then we're going to do if these cables reach. Number 2 will be the closed hi-hat. And number 3, well, I'm sorry, number 4. Number 3 is the closed hi-hat. Number 4 will be the open. Okay, so these are all patched in now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come into this tracker that I have. Juanco, thank you very much for the sub, man. I appreciate that. 20 months, man. That's pretty insane. I know I haven't streamed much lately, but I really do appreciate it. Yeah, AFX TNA was all done on a digital audio workstation, with the exception of a few sounds and loops that I had scattered in there that I had recorded off of the modular gear. But this modular gear wasn't hooked up live when I was recording that stuff. That was all done digitally. This does have a MIDI interface that you're not seeing right now. It's actually off to the side that I can actually hook up. The digital audio workstation can control all of this stuff, which is really cool. Awesome. So let's see here. First things first, what we have to do is I have to take this sequencer and I have to tell it that I want track 1 because it's a tracker. You can't really see the screen too well on it, unfortunately, but track 1 is going to be my drum patterns, and what I have to do is I just need to tell it to use the outputs for the triggers. So what I would do is go to track assign. Track 1 is going to be, go back. Track assign, track 1 is going to be the trigger. I will set that. Okay, I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to press OK. I'm going to make a new pattern. So I'll get into this pattern here. And I'm going to go over to this guy. Sorry, again, this is stupid stuff that I have to do to set this thing up properly. Alright, it's going to be a 16-beat pattern. Alright, and now there's some cool stuff going on here too, which I should set up ahead of time, which is my input and output recording stuff, because I'm able to use this thing over here, which is a launch pad, to control a bunch of other stuff, you know, and I control the actual, this thing's called a NerdSec tracker. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on all my live inputs here. we're going to use the launch pad back here. Go here and go to live mode. Kind of cool. It's kind of a neat little thing. And then we should be able to enter this pattern. Okay, cool. Now, on this grid here, which is the same grid as what I'm looking at on this little screen, but it's bigger and I can interact with this. My first column, because I put in trigger number one is the kick. Then I have the snare in second column. Then I have the closed hi-hats, and then I have the open hi-hat. So this is a 16 beat pattern. I am going to I'm going to start toggling between the two views because I'm only seeing 8 beats at a time on this launch pad. So first things first, I'm just going to make a simple like kick pattern, and then I'm going to put a snare. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and play this pattern. Now you can see some stuff is happening. So there is some good stuff happening here, actually. Joe, thank you very much for the bits, man. I really appreciate it. All right, so you guys just start hearing a kick drum. It's kind of tough to see what exactly is happening on the screen here because it's actually going. It shouldn't be going horizontal. This is really this is beta software on here. This is not done yet, but it should be going this direction. You know, up like top to bottom because it's a tracker. So that's what I'm actually doing here. This is just showing the position on the 16 steps. So if I go to the other one here, you can see. I mean, it doesn't really make sense. Sorry, guys, but we can do some closed hi-hats. We'll start bringing up. Oh yeah, we gotta bring up the snare a little bit. Just gonna make a tiny pattern. All right. If I plug this in the right spot. And then, so remember, track 3 was my open hi-hats, or my closed hi-hats, and then I got my open hi-hats, so I have to go to both sections here. So you can start hearing the open hi-hats there. So that's kind of cool. Like, I mean, you can just make a pattern that way. You know, 16-step pattern, great. You know, whatever. Gerbil, how are you, sir? Lars is in. Wow, man, you guys are all here. Just checking out. I haven't seen you. Like, I haven't talked to some of you guys in a long time. So, yeah, sorry, this doesn't totally make sense here on the launch pad right at this minute. But check this out. If I go back to the sequencer, this is like Ableton, sort of, where I have my one pattern up top. And I can actually go ahead and stop that pattern. Okay, and like I can, as soon as I start making more patterns in this tracker, you will see that it will allow me to start and stop patterns just like Ableton, and just like the Launchpad works with Ableton, which is super cool. So there's a drum pattern that we made. We should probably try and make a breakbeat pattern. So I'm gonna skip a line and put another one in here. All right, we'll put one in here. You see how it lit up over there. It's kind of cool. Go into the pattern. All right. Should do something like this. Maybe something like that. Go in actually and tell this thing to make a 16 step. Okay. All right. One. Yeah, this is fun stuff, you guys, right here. Okay, so if we start this pattern up, it'll start up when it's quantized right now, so it's gonna start when it feels like it. So there's our pattern. Little breakbeat pattern. And you can see now I'm back to the sequencer screen now on this guy, and I can go between that other pattern that we made earlier, which is just kind of a 4 on the floor type thing, which I'm going to modify actually. I'm going to make it more stereotypical. And then I'm going to screw around with some of this. There we go. Now it sounds like a cheap techno. Yeah, it sounds like 808. Actually, what's funny is this snare and this hi-hat module are mimicked off of the 909, so it's pretty neat actually. Yeah, kind of fun. And then the bass drums, it's all its own thing. We can screw with the bass drum too. But yeah, if I go back to the sequencer screen, we can go back to our breakbeat pattern. And there's other little things you can do too that I don't know how to do totally. I'm not really like super fluent in how this the tracker works, but I'll get better at it eventually. But there's a ways to do like ratcheting and stuff with the hi-hats. Let me see if I can figure that out. Let's just try and figure it out. You know what? Screw it. Let's see what we get. Okay. It was track 3 is the hi-hat, so Oh, check that out. I did it. Okay, so you just changed. I don't know what these numbers mean on here that I'm doing. I have no clue what I'm doing. But that sounds cool. Neat. So I'm just screwing around, you guys. I have no idea what the hell's going on. And it needs 5 more rush cabinets. I can't put 5 on. It's a maximum of 8 can be linked together, and there's already 4 back there. Yeah, it's crazy. Can you make the beat an Easter egg for when you... Oh, Rick and Morty. I'm not doing the code for Rick and Morty, man. Go harass Eric, you guys. Ask him for Easter eggs. Cool, so hey, I got it to ratchet a little bit, which is kind of cool. Let's see what other ratchet sounds we can make. Oh, it goes like faster. Oh, I see what's going on. Okay, so that's doing like 4. I got it. So it's doing 4 hits. Wait, so if I do like 7 and then do like 4 and then 3 and 2, it like slows it down. That's kind of weird. Ooh, super weird. Weird. Ah, whatever. Hey, you know, we're just screwing around here. It's fine. Yeah, these trackers are, well, at least this one in particular is so deep in terms of what it can do that I still am finding just new stuff all over it. And they keep updating the software on it too, which is great. Alright, so there's that. I'm going to go ahead and stop this pattern from playing. Okay, now what we can do is start experimenting with some oscillators. And then what we'll do is we'll make like a, let's just make like a TNA style bass line. So I'm going to change the BPM of this. We're going to go way down. We're going to go like 100 BPM on this. That's going to slow down. So this is what our pattern is going to sound like now. I'll play this back again. Gets to the bottom, it'll quantize up. Alright, so that's like way slower. Okay, now let's put so baseline is going to be on track 2 of the tracker. So let's decide what we're going to do with the baseline first. Which oscillator do we want to use? Let's use the piston Honda. I know I can make a baseline with that one pretty quickly. There's a couple of setup things I have to do here. I have to turn on the octave. To go back here, I've got to link the oscillators together. All right, so what we're going to do is send 1 volt per octave from CV here. Oof, cable's too tight. Kind of different cable. Need just a little bit longer. Crazy. There we go. All right, 1 volt per octave, which is going to come out of my CV. And I'm going to show you right now, it's not doing anything. It's just making noise, like, all the time. Oh, the jukebox thing? Oh, yeah, that's my tape jukebox. It's a really dumb idea, the jukebox thing. And sorry if I'm missing stuff here. Owl Anonymous, yes. I am making beats and rhythms. Yeah, Lars got my back on the sweet jukebox thing. And yes, we're making porn beats. But right now, so this oscillator, I'm not going to send it anything. I'm just going to leave this unplugged for a second, and I'm going to show you what that sounds like, because it outputs, all of these oscillators just output audio no matter what you do with them. So let's take a listen to see what this thing is actually doing. So here's the mix out going into number 4. So right now that's what it's doing. And I can change up, if you can see the screen a little bit, I can change the wavetable. This thing is just crazy. And I actually made these wavetables that are in this piston Honda right now. So I'll turn that way down. That's probably freaking loud. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to patch up the output of this guy. So before we hook it to anything in terms of the tracker, I'm going to patch the output of it into something called a VCA, which is a voltage controlled attenuator. And so we're going to take the mix out of this. We're going to go into a VCA. And then from the VCA, we can come out of the VCA and into number 4, which now you can tell we're not hearing anything because the VCA is closing down the audio, right? So this is track 1. Okay. Why do I have boost on? No need for boost. We don't need distortion on this. It's got enough. Now, to trigger this VCA, I need an envelope. And so now I'm going to, let's see, what are we going to use for an envelope? I'm going to probably just use this because it's close to it, the quadrangle here. That's made by an evil company that the guy is a douchebag who owns the company. So I scratched all the stuff off of it and wrote no hate on the bottom of it. See that? Because in this world, there is no room for hate. Alright. Actually, I'm going to use a really tiny cable for this. Because no need for huge cables if you don't need them. Okay. Now I've got an envelope coming in to the VCA, but the envelope's not being triggered by anything. So I need to trigger it with something. So what we're going to do is use the trigger from the actual NerdSec into the quadrangle. and that's going to give us a nice envelope, hopefully. So what we can do is we can test this right now. We can stick this into the trigger button that I have over here. And you can see kind of what's going on. Bill, how are you, sir? Yeah, it's fun. So you can see how it's clicking. Like when I click the button, it makes it kind of come up and then come down, because I've got my decay set on a well, it's actually a release, but there, decay. I can change my attack as well. Change the sound of the envelope. But you can see by the lights here on the VCA, you can see it actually, you know, the envelope coming up and down, which is kind of cool. We're going to leave it on. Okay, so that's one way to do the VCA. I also have a filter that has a VCA built into it, which is super awesome. So as of right now, this is just volume. It's just turning the volume up and then down. So it's not too exciting. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this out, this exact setup. I'm going to swap this VCA for the filter, and we're going to see what happens. So that's my output. Where's my out? Here's my in. All right, and the VCA is, for some reason, open. I don't know why. It shouldn't be making any sound right now, honestly. Should be closed. What's going on here? I don't know, whatever. Alright, so what we have to do though is we need to send... Okay, so we've got that same envelope here. We're just going to use that same one. I have to send that envelope over to the filter now, which is right here, and then should, so you guys can sort of hear what's happening a little bit. That's pretty cool. Oh man, am I getting drop frames? Uh-oh. It's dropped frame time. I don't know. Can you guys, hopefully you guys can still hear me. And hopefully you can hear what's going on there as well, because that's pretty nuts. I've got dropped frames detected. Aw, dang it. Yeah, we're getting drop frames all over the place. Sound's not cutting out, just image. Okay, who cares about the image? You guys don't need to see anything. Doesn't matter. It'll refresh. It's fine. Okay, so can you hear how that sounds now? I didn't even really do anything yet. I don't know why that's... So that sounds almost like a bass line, doesn't it? Okay, but I'm just clicking this button here. Why don't we take this trigger and actually put it into the NerdSec and have the NerdSec just make a nice beat for us, or a nice rhythm for us. I'm gonna make it super straight right now. We're just gonna play like C's across the board. So I'm gonna make a new pattern on 2. You can see it pop up over here. Go into this pattern, and we are going to give that, I think, yeah, C4, fine, whatever. Okay, and then we're going to put the break on here so that it stops at a 16 beat pattern, and then we're going to start this one up. I don't know if you can see that. I think it's like a little too bright, and the camera's not picking that up nicely because I gotta get everything else. IX Studios, thank you for the follow, appreciate it. Okay, well, that is giving... That's just sending out a trigger. So, super boring. And that's supposed to be a C. It's supposed to be C4, but... That seems kind of high. Hold on. the Piston Honda, which we're using, that wavetable synthesizer, that actually has a display readout on it telling me what pitch is being played, and I can match that to what the NerdSec thinks it's sending, so that it all stays nice. Oh, you know what? I'm not sending it any CV. I forgot to plug this back in. Let's plug this in over here. Yeah, that sounds weird as hell. Okay, getting all this back to normal here. Alright. Just thinking it's sending the wrong thing, so I'm gonna fix this. Just trying to sync everything up. Way too high. Can't get that any lower. What's going on here? Okay, there we go. We're getting there. We're getting somewhere. Okay, cool. David Dennis, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. You know, C is kind of low. Why don't we change up some of these notes a little bit here? I'm just playing with the notes here. Just for fun, let's see what we got here. Okay, well, we have a pattern. Let's just stick with that for now. So now I'm able to turn this filter, like, so this sounds pretty cool. And I apologize for this getting just kind of annoying, but, you know, this is kind of how you make music with these things. You just kind of take it a step at a time. It's kind of cool. Okay. Anyway, I'm just screwing around with that filter. So, something cool that I did a lot in the TNA album is I sidechained the bass line to the kick drum. So let's just say we have our kick drum running, right? So I'm just going to start up the kick drum again, or that drum pattern that we made earlier. So super basic stuff. And I'm just gonna pull out just the kick for now, or just leave the kick for now. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to unplug the bass line, because the bass line's running right now. I'm gonna unplug this bass line and I'm going to run it through something called a compressor, which will allow me to sidechain the bass so that when the kick happens, the bass is actually going to drop out and then come back in. So it's super neat. So the first thing we need to do is I need to capture the output of the kick drum. So what I'm going to do is take the kick drum off for a moment. I'm going to take the output of the kick, put it into here, and let's make sure that it's still working. Okay, this is a splitter right here. It's called a mult, or a multiple. But now that I have that split off, I need to send that kick as well over to the compressor, so the compressor knows how to sidechain it, right? All right. We're going to then take the output, because I've already taken the input of the bass line, which is this red cable here, and then we're going to take that out and put that back into the mixer. So you can see what's happening here is the compressor is reading the kick and it's cutting the bass line out. So here I just turned the kick off. You hear how it gets real, it's kind of ducking the where the kick is supposed to be. Sounds kind of cool, actually. Okay, so that's working. Let's throw the other drums back in and see what it sounds like. That's kind of cool. There it is, a bass line sounding thing. And then you just play with stuff and get it to sound cool. Yeah, it's pretty fun to do that stuff, though. Alright, so we got some stuff right here. Oh, so since the side chaining is done live, like it's done on the fly, if I change up this pattern, check this out. So that's cool as hell, because that's like, it's not side chaining the exact same way as that first drum beat, because it's reading off of the actual kick signal itself. Super fun. Let's just play with the bass a little bit, see what we can get to do. can also create 303 bass lines because I have this M303, which is a TB303 emulator, which Lord Squeak, yes, very TB sounding, awesome. But check this out. I'm going to stop all this stuff. I'm going to stop this pattern. Stop all the patterns. What's funny though is if I stop this pattern, look at this thing. There's the VCA on this filter isn't cutting out the sound completely, so it lets the sound through when there's nothing playing, which is kind of weird. But I think I have to stack a VCA on top of that filter because the VCA in that filter doesn't do exactly what I want it to do. But I'll figure that out later. Okay, cool. So next thing we're going to do here is we're going to do some clock things. So you see this blinking light down here? This is my master clock. That's giving me it's giving me a gate or a trigger every 16th note. And what we're going to do is I'm going to take that signal and I'm going to put it into a module here that I have. It's called the quad clock distributor. All right, so we're going to do that. Do the clock in. So now we've got our clock distributed here. And what I can do is these little knobs here allow me to divide the clock. So you'll see that red light there. I don't know if you can see the actual colors from it, but oh, you can't see the red light because of the cables in the way. All right, the green one. Let's talk about the green one. So the green one, I can actually make it go slower. It divides it. So it's a divide by 3, I think. Yeah, it's a divide by 3. So, which is kind of fun. It allows you to really kind of send the clocks in different places and have them on the fly be able to change, do different stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to use something called the Marbles by Mutable Instruments, which is this guy here. This is a replica of it, and it is going to. Yeah, my alarm went off telling me it's lunchtime. Great. This is a replica of it made by a company called Antumbra. So they just make it a lot smaller so it fits into racks better. And it's just really condensed. But basically what this does is this generates patterns for me. It generates gates and it generates pitches. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to send it a clock from the quad clock distributor. I can't talk today. All right, there we go. So now that matches this flashing stuff here. Now matches my main master clock here, which is great. That's what I want. I want everything kind of synced up, so then when I bring the drums and stuff back in, everything is kind of all on the same page. So what it's doing right now is it's generating triggers, which aren't really doing much of anything. So let me just go ahead and change up what is happening here. There we go. Okay, so now there's 3 lights here, the top light and the bottom light. The middle light's just taking the clock, and that's outputting this guy. And the bottom one is biased, so it's like got a probability whether it picks. Right now it's at a 50-50% probability that it'll pick the top one versus the bottom one, and it's just making triggers on that. So it's super complicated and very tough to like talk about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the actual clock output and I'm going to put this into the gate in of the 303. So this is going to trigger notes on every single it's gonna trigger notes on every single beat, right? So 16 for every 16th note. So now what I'm gonna do is show you what that sounds like. So here's the output. Oh wait, I gotta do, okay, so something weird about this, not a lot of people know this, but Eurorack runs signals hotter than line, so they're actually like a lot louder than line level. And the 303 outputs line level. So what I have to do is, since this is an exact replica of the 303, they actually did not make it output Eurorack level output. So I have to amp it. So I have this little amp right next to it where I can take the output of this and just amp it up so that it can be at Eurorack level. All right, so let's take a listen to what's coming out of here. And I'm going to put this into number 5. Yeah, not much anything's coming out of there because it's super low because it's not getting any pitch data. So let's give it some pitch. I'm going to take you know what? I'm going to take a little cable. I love these little cables. They're great. Take that. Okay, so now it's generating random. I'm actually, those two things there are locking the loop in place. Okay, so that's actually sending out note data now to the 303, and it's sending gate data to the 303. Alright, I'm just playing around with some stuff here. So I didn't even have to program that sequence. That's just coming out of there. You know what we should do? I'm gonna run the slide. Yeah, this is gonna be cool. I'm gonna run the slide. This is gonna get better. Yeah, it sounds pretty awesome so far. That's pretty awesome. You know what this needs though? This needs like a little bit of distortion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the output of this that's coming in to the mixer, unplug that. I'm going to put this into the plasma drive, although I have to be honest with you guys, I don't know if I really like the plasma drive that much. I can't get a real good sound out of it. It looks cool. It's got an actual like plasma tube in it, and you know, it's neat, but I don't know. It's not the greatest. So, all right, what we're gonna do is put from the plasma drive back into here. It's real dirty. It's super dirty. You can see that the tube here it's actually running the audio through that high voltage electrical vacuum tube. So that's kind of neat, but you know. Oh, well, thank you for the host, man. I appreciate it. Okay, so get that real high-pitched screaming stuff. Yeah, it's just not, I can't really get a good sound out of the 303, which is really, it's weird. Forget that. Let's do, I need CV, that's the input. I'm going to try something else here. Let's do this distortion here, the DSP. This is the Pico DSP. That distortion is so much better. You know what I can do too is I can take this. Just some crazy stuff. Okay, so this sounds all crazy now. So what I'm gonna do is I've got my output. I'm also going to take the output of this 303 and throw it through that sidechain compressor, like what we did last time. And then I'm going to output from there back into track 5. Okay, so if I were to actually pick up the kick right now, it should sidechain out and it should sound pretty cool. Well, once this gets to the end, it'll kick on. Ultimately, I think this is just, it's putting out too low of notes for the 303. Alright, let's throw some hi-hats on there. Switch up the drum beat here. Check this out. Shit, I'm like redlining my mixer and stuff over here. Awesome. Who cares? Alright, that's an awesome loop right there. Now, so these two flashing yellow buttons up here on the actual marbles, so the one on the right is controlling the actual pitch data, and the one on the left is controlling the slides and basically just controlling the slides. when that light goes off, that means it's not locked in anymore and it can actually start finding a new pattern. So let's do this. When I like it, I can click it again, it'll lock it into that loop. Give this thing some more juice. All of this is coming out of the modular synth. Like it is all coming out of there. The nerd site really isn't doing anything right now besides giving a clock and triggering the drums. I have no idea what notes are coming out of this 303 right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to throw the bass line, the piston Honda, back in. But I'm going to do it in my headphones. Actually, my headphones aren't plugged into the rack. Alright, we're going to do it. We're going to do it live. Fuck it. I'm going to trigger this to start. So you see on the launch there, that's going to start that bass line again for us. I don't think this is going to match up whatsoever, but yeah, it's flashing, but I think it's just slow, yeah. Can you not see it? I'm dropping frames every once in a while because I think our internet's getting throttled because everybody's at home, working from home, so the internet's been kind of up and down for me. Hoping the sound is still coming through okay. I'll post this to YouTube when I'm done, actually, so that you guys can, if you want to rewatch or listen and see what's going on. Everything's frozen? Ah, shit. I don't know, is everything frozen for other people too? All the cams froze? Hey, if audio's good, I don't care. Who cares? So some of that distortion off the top is actually coming from my some of that distortion off the top is coming because I'm redlining my capture card right now, but I just don't care. Alright, I'm gonna change up the 2 doing here. I'm going to change up both at the same time. I'm going to change the note data and also the pattern data. So check this out. Let's see if we can tune this thing to sound good with it. Stop everything and explain what I'm going to do here. So there's this thing called Jupiter Storm. This is a noise generator, and it works like super well for hi-hats. So what I'm going to do is move this thing out of the way so I can get to my cables. And I'm going to send it a controlled voltage, but I want to use my Z8000 sequencer for it. And what I'm going to do here is send it a clock. So I need to send this thing a clock so it starts moving, right? I also need to send a reset. So there's something called a reset in here, which actually resets this back to, like if I hit stop on my actual NerdSec like I did, when it stops everything, it will reset back to step one instead of stopping and waiting and then continuing where it left off. Oh yeah, Sarah's on the keyboard of the computer now. That's crazy. That's a little concerning. All right, so let me get. Yeah, so that reset's coming from the NerdSec going in here. I'm also going to grab another clock. So we're going to use this clock here, and we're going to trigger this clock. So when I hit start here, I'm going to turn off everything. You can see this sequencer is starting to work now. It's starting to go through and do stuff, right? But I want to now send the output of these knobs, which are all turned to 0 right now. I'm going to send that output into the control voltage input of the Jupiter Storm. So I'm going to take this, coming out of here, into here. Okay. Doesn't do anything yet because we didn't hook up anything else to it. We probably need a VCA on this because right now if I were just to take one of these outputs and plug it in like to number 6 here, that's what it sounds like. It sounds awful. Yeah, so yeah, not great. You can hear some of the noise it makes, which is kind of cool. So we're gonna put that into a VCA. All right, what VCA do I want to use here? I'm going to use the standard VCA that I actually know how to use. Hi, Dave. And then we're going to come out. Oh, you're helping? You helping? Here, plug it in.
Plug it in.
Plug it in somewhere. I don't know where to plug it yet. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's plugged in. Thank you. Let me plug that in number 6. So, as of right now, is nothing coming out and in. Number 6 needs to come up. Okay, so the VCA is working. Cool. Now, what we're going to do is send a gate over to this guy. I'm going to use this again. I'm going to use that quadrangle again. And I'm going to grab the gate from the marbles. So this is going to give us an irregular pattern. Yeah, so that can't hear anything yet, I know. Then I need envelope out here to go into here. We should be hearing something soon. All right. Okay, so I've got kind of a thing going on. Great, but it doesn't sound cool or anything. So what I'm going to do now is these knobs here, I can actually start twisting them randomly, and it's going to send CV into this module. It's kind of fun, you know? I can twist the knobs on here, make it do different stuff. It also makes like little bloops and bleeps and stuff too. Check this out. So what's cool is I've actually grabbed the pattern from the marbles, but it's actually on the opposite bias of the slide for the 303. So when I bring the 303 back in, you can hear how it kind of goes with it a little bit, you know? So we can get different sounds with these different outputs too. There. That sounds like it's reversed because I actually did an attack instead of a decay. That might sound kind of cool actually. So I'm going to bring some drums back in and we're going to see how this kind of melds with everything else. And then we got our bass line here. It sounds pretty good. Oh, and then what I did just right there was I've got a mute module here, which allows me to mute different channels, like just by clicking the button, because there's no mute buttons on this mixer natively. So like if I want to mute the kick, the side chain is still going, but the kick is actually muted. And as the snare and the hi-hat are now muted. Johnny, no, that is a Innovation Launchpad Pro. That's super fun. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is take off that bass line. We're going to mess with the pattern of the 303. That's cool. I just grabbed that. I turned it off and locked it back in immediately. That sounds awesome. Marbles is great, man. I recommend that, guys. Now let's see if we can tune the Piston Honda to this bass line, because these are not connected. No, it's still in the same key. Alright, alright. Good job. Maz, thank you so much, man, for the kind words and the fire. I haven't seen you in a while, man. Hope all's well. So Johnny, so TNA actually was composed mostly digitally, and I'm saying like 99% digitally. I did use some sample loops from this that I have made in the past, but I mostly did it digitally with VSTs and stuff like that. But now the music that I'm writing for Rick and Morty has more of this analog stuff in it. I'm actually not compiling stuff 100% from the modular gear, although I probably should for the Rick and Morty. But yeah, no, I'm just playing around, and what I do is I'll capture loops from this when I like something, and then use it in the future, which is kind of fun. And Matt, sorry, I haven't been around. I have not been around too much. I have not seen you because it's my fault, because I have not been around. All right, this is rocking though. I like this. Should we change up the bass line again, or the 303? Let's change up the pattern and the pitch data. That sounds very similar to what we just heard. Let's try again. Right now, this is all being sequenced by the. What you're looking at right now is audio going right into my workstation, and the nerd site's doing a little bit of sequencing, but most of the sequencing is being done through either this Z8000 or the Marbles itself up here. The clock is coming from the NerdSec. The launch pad is hooked up to the NerdSec via MIDI, and that's actually allowing me to turn on and off loops. So right now I can actually turn on. This is the first one up here. That's a 4 to the floor beat, and this is a break speed. So we can actually switch this up live and go to a break speed once this comes up a little bit here. Yeah, but Johnny, this is just being used as a MIDI controller. There's nothing going on in the launch pad at all besides lighting up lights and then sending button data to the NerdSec. The NerdSec's doing the heavy lifting on that. That sounds really cool right now. Let me turn that up again. Stop using Facebook because it's propaganda machine. I have to get back to what I'm doing. It's getting annoying. Alright, man. It was good seeing you, man. See ya. Skip Daddy. What's up, buddy? I'm still working, but I have to I can take little breaks every once in a while, and then kind of just work all the time because I can't so. This sounds really cool. Oh, I'm not gonna. Look at what you're doing in my stream. You're making everybody uncomfortable. You're making people uncomfortable. Oh yeah, we're all working crazy. Like, everybody that I know, man, is just working as hard as they can. That sounds really cool now. I've actually, so check this out. I turned it on gate mode instead of VCA mode on the 303, so it's actually just doing like real choppy stuff now. But then when I bring the bass line back in, it sounds just really cool. Oh, skip it's okay. I mean, the Rick and Morty machines will still be there. I mean, just Spooky's just delaying a little bit because they don't want to endanger their workers, you know. But you know, it's fine. It's not like it stopped or anything. Like, they're still gonna do it. Nothing's happening to Spooky. They're doing well. I can turn this to like a 2-bar loop. It's using that same note data. And it also does polyrhythms too. Yeah, Johnny, I'm running the 303. This is actual clone of a real CB303, so I'm running this through a distortion, a slight distortion, just to give it a little extra crunch. Here's what it sounds like without the distortion. It's kind of hard to hear. I like the distortion. Yeah, Andy, you're right. They're still making them. They're just gonna roll out a little slower, which is good. I think it's gonna help people too, because then we're gonna get over this whole like, you know, issue here that we're having with this like virus and stuff, and I think it'll give people a little more time. I think they deserve that, and that's nice. Play with the filters. I love filters so much. Let's see what we can do with the piston right here. There we go. Modular. I finally figured out how to actually use it, and I like it. I almost sold that too. Like, I was like, yeah, I wasn't really feeling it, but I got the hang of it. Probably call it. I haven't had sushi in so long, man. Oh, Skip, stop talking about sushi, man. Oh, I haven't had lunch yet. See what else we got out of this Jupiter storm. See, the thing is, like, I can't tell if this is, like, boring to people or not, because I'm having, like, a really good time doing this. It's, like, it's super repetitive. I love it. I'm gonna put my headphones on full blast, man. I shouldn't do that. It's not good. Not good for the hearing. Let's do it. I mean, we really don't add anything else to this. Patterns that are coming out of this thing are just insane. Trey, thank you for the follow, man. Appreciate it. Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put I need a VCA for the bass line. I'm going to I need to split this. I'm gonna show you what the difference sounds like, because I'm running the filter as a VCA and I'm not really super happy with what it's sounding like right now. So I'm going to take the output of this guy. I need to split this output, so I need to find a close multiple, which is just one right here. Put it here, and then I'm going to take this. I hear a dog barking. The multiple out. This goes back into here, so we'll get, because I want the filter to still like swing, right? So, but I also want the VCA into my VCA, and then I'm going to take the output of the filter itself, which is here. So this is completely killed. That's going to come into the VCA, and then it's going to go back out of the VCA into there. So it's going to go back into the actual side chaining compressor, right like that. Okay, so that sounds a bit different now, huh? So I can make this wide open, and it's still doing that decay thing, which is really cool. That's pretty awesome. like 2-week thing again. Here, we'll switch back to. Here we go. Stopping that, and I think I'm going to shut the stream down. But guys, thank you so much for joining me. That was fun. I just needed to take a break for a moment and build some music there, and yeah, and really enjoy. I really enjoy doing this kind of stuff. So I'll try and stream a little more often. I know I haven't done it in a while, but yeah, I will be back eventually. So cool. Let's take a look real quick and see who is streaming, because we can go raid them and see if there's any other cool stuff going on. So give me 1 second to go take a peek, and we'll see. There, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm actually gonna start this back up so you guys can enjoy that while I'm looking